Hey gang, Tony here, and today I'm actually here to talk to you about Tepache. That's right, Tepache. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that correctly, but what are you gonna do? Here's the deal. You guys may or may not know that I'm really into like food and cooking and trying all kinds of different food projects. Those who follow me on Instagram are all too familiar with my homemade sourdough breads popping up weekly. And I used to brew beer, which I haven't had time to do, but fermentation in particular is just an interesting thing to me. And I recently discovered a fermented beverage, specifically a fermented pineapple beverage, authentic to Mexico, I believe, called Tepache. So I whipped up a batch of that a few days ago, I guess. Well, a week ago. It was a week. If you want to try this, I don't have like a set recipe or anything, but essentially all you have to do is get a pineapple. They say you should try to get organic pineapples. Oh, by the way, I am going to pour some and taste it and show you what it looks like in just a second. But to tell you how to make it, you get a big jar and you cut up a pineapple. They say use organic pineapples because of the natural yeast on the skin of the pineapple is what ferments the beverage. I didn't use an organic pineapple and it worked just fine, so take that for what you will. You cut it up into chunks with the rind on it. You throw it all into the big jar. You take half a cup to a cup of brown sugar. Traditionally, it is piloncillo. Oh my god, I'm bad at this, but it's a pure cane sugar. You could get it in the Mexican aisle of the grocery store, and I did not use that, but if you want to be purely traditional with this, you would use that, or the brown sugar, or honey. You could even use half a cup to a cup or so. I put a couple of sticks of cinnamon in there. I put a couple of knobs of ginger that I just kind of crushed up, cut up, threw that in there. Some recipes call for cloves. I did not put cloves. Some recipes call for like a habanero chili. I did not do that. But you could experiment, play around with different flavors. So you do that, and then you put water. You want to dissolve the sugar a little bit with the water before you can shake it around, and then fill it up until it covers the pineapple. If the pineapple's floating, you could try to weigh it down with something. I just left it and kind of mixed it every once in a while, and it was fine. Cover it up with cheesecloth, and you leave it out. And you leave it out for anywhere from 1 to 5 days, and just keep watching it. And for me, it took about 2 days before fermentation started. So natural yeasts in the skin of the pineapple, and probably the ginger as well, start to eat the sugar, and you start to see bubbles kind of coming up. I'll put some pictures, maybe. I had some on Instagram. And you kind of just taste it, and it gets more and more tangy as you let it go. It will turn into vinegar if you let it go too long, but I mean 3 days is not nearly long enough for it to turn to vinegar. But after that, you strain it out through some cheesecloth. I did a double strain method just to get all the solids out. And then you could drink it there. You could chill it and drink it, or you could do like what I did, and which was pour it into Grolsch bottles, swing top bottles, and you want to be very, very careful with that though, because there's so much sugar and the fermentation continues. These will explode on you if you're not careful. So I just left them out for a day and then popped them in the fridge to kind of retard the fermentation process so it doesn't continue. And that worked out perfect for me. I read some things that suggest after putting it in the bottle, maybe just throw it directly in the fridge and that'll be okay. I did not try that, but you might want to if you're afraid of explosions. And if you want to be super careful, you just don't have to put it in the bottle. Essentially, putting it in a bottle just helps it carbonate more and becomes more fizzy that way. I did about 3 days for fermentation, a day in the bottle, a day chilled, and that's what this is. The cool thing is after you filter off the first batch, you could actually just put more water, another half cup of sugar, and do it again. And it ferments in like a day because it's already active and everything. So I got 2 batches out of that pineapple. Let's taste it. Oh. Alright, so I have opened this a couple times, so the carbonation is not quite as high as it was, but just take a look, see what we get there. I'm not going to pour it all, but you could see, I think, how fizzy that is. and you get a nice little head. It is not alcoholic. It has a trace amount of alcohol in it, barely anything, especially if you let it go for only a few days. It's good for your health, your gut health anyway, because it's probiotics. It's got living organisms, the yeast and bacteria and whatnot that's in there. And it is delicious. It is, I've had some of it already. It is so good. Oh, man. So good. You get a little bit of tanginess from the fermentation process. But again, you could kind of just watch it, and if you don't want it to be too tangy, let it ferment less time. This is incredibly sweet still. Between the pineapple and the brown sugar that I had in there, we didn't let it ferment long enough to eat all the sugar. If you do that, it will become vinegar. So this is really sweet, a little bit of a tang. You kind of get hints of the cinnamon and ginger, but not too much. So refreshing. It tastes like pineapple soda. It's a all-natural, naturally carbonated pineapple soda. The carbonation too is this like silky, small bubble, effervescent sort of carbonation. Not like real crazy, CO2 soda carbonation. Not that this isn't CO2, but CO2 forced carbonation like in sodas. Really good. I highly recommend you guys give this a try. If you got a pineapple around, you could even just use the rinds. If you want to eat the pineapple, just use the rinds to make the drink. I imagine it'll be less pineapple-y, but it's still capable of fermenting and probably still makes a pretty tasty drink. You could add other flavors to it. Just delicious. It really is. I'm floored by how good this is. So give it a try. Tepache. I'm coming back with a couple of more traditional videos for you guys. Cheers. Breathe the night.